I would like to. Well, well. Let's start at one thing. I'm a husband. I'm a father now. I like to think of myself as a good friend. I write music. I've been in the industry since I was a kid. I love animals. I love nature. I love traveling. I love discovering new things. I'm a big foodie. I guess I can go on and on, but yeah, there's a lot in me that it constantly feels like it's being untapped. And I'm, it's different personality, different minds work different, and I'm on the quest for learning and bettering myself, not only as a musician, but spiritually and everything. So I try to just bettering myself day at a time. I guess
I
that's
love
one way to put it.
that. Oh my gosh, it's a lovely list, and I love that your one of your topics is to constantly be learning something new, which is one of my favorite things to hear from anybody. And you, on top of it, is also a musician with a new album out. How's it feel to have that out?
It's oh man, I told someone this the other day. It's kind of one of those, like, obviously everything I do in it does feel like a labor of love. It's like doing a painting that you've worked really hard on, and you want to make sure every stroke, every color, every palette is perfect before you unveil it to the world. And it does feel like that with an album. It's not just a single where you're trying to rush it out, or not that you cut corners with a single, but it's a different process, and there's a different mindset to really writing a body of work that goes onto an album. Because for me, it's something more that especially this one, Windows of Time, I wanted it to be a body of work that I could look back in 5, 10, 15, 20 years and say, and just be proud of the work, have my kids, listen to it. And also timeless was a theme for me. I really didn't want to do too many things with the music or lyrically that would pigeonhole it or make it sound dated in a year or two, because sometimes we're chasing fads, we're chasing current trends. And I didn't want to do that with this album. I really wanted to dig deep lyrically, and tell stories, and open up myself in a way that I don't think my fans or new people that are discovering me have ever seen me before in this light. Especially too, I think a lot of people were very surprised by the type of sound that I was choosing to do. It's not your mainstream necessarily cookie cutter pop. So it has its own flair, its own unique palette. And so it might not be for everybody. But then again, I'm finding a lot of people that are listening to it, there's different things about the lyrics or sounds that's really, resonating with them on a deeper level. And I love that. And so for me, again, like I said, going back to trying new things, this album was that. It was like, what have I not done before? Where can I tap into my roots? How can I push myself as an artist that I've never done? And I really did. I remember being in, like, because I'm also kind of I wouldn't like to say well, it's hard because I like technology, but I'm not the most tech savvy person, but I enjoy it. So I enjoy vocal production. I enjoy vocal producing myself. I enjoy taking on the nuts and bolts of production and engineering. And so for this album, I was renting, you know, I remember the one mic I had. It was, Gaga had it out the week before, and Shawn Mendes was using another piece of gear that I really liked, and I was renting all these pieces of gear, and I was fiddling with them at night and turning knobs and getting the sounds that I wanted. And for me, so some people it sounds like a nightmare, but for me it was actually fun to go and to do that kind of process and to bring out nuances that I'd never done. So I really dig deep in this album, and the lyrical part is a whole other journey that I'm happy to share with you as well. But I really, like I said, to go back to it, digging deep was definitely at the forefront of this album.
Oh my gosh. I am so when listening to this, I have notes down here of what I had thought about for each song, and I realized the common theme of it was storytelling. And
Hmm.
to hear you say that, I was like confirming my own like belief, because it felt like I'm listening to like, oh gosh, just a fairy tale of not stories
Hmm.
with each feeling to it. So it was very cool to hear that kind of information. Um, Especially, oh gosh, now I had the whole list of all the songs on here. Um,
Okay.
a Rose Amidst the Thorns was one of my favorites out of the album so far.
Mm. Hell hath no beauty like a woman scorned. Yeah,
Yes,
that was the opening
that also
line. Yeah.
brings me up. Um, I've noticed a lot of similes and a lot of sayings. What was your favorite one to put into the songs?
Mm. Um, I wouldn't say I like to go super and I tried to be careful with the fine line of using too many common phrases. It's weird too. I went very old world English on some of the on some of my phrasing, and I think that had to do with maybe where the kind of material that I was studying at that time. I was also, I mean, I would, the most random pieces of information I was using as inspiration, but I would go back to, like, a 1920s poem, or like, just old written songs, and I was just like, how can I just, like, get out of the headspace that I was currently in writing before and get into a completely new space. Um, and so, yeah, I think it was interesting to just mess with the lyrical. I guess, to answer your question, in Wanderlust, there was one part, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. That's obviously, everyone knows that is a very biblical phrase. But at
Yeah.
the same time, it's this journey of this wanderer, this someone who's seeking to find, um, the corner of the earth, and to discover oneself honestly through journey, through traveling, through experience. That's what, for me, that's why traveling is so part, and what I love in my life is just meeting new people, and cultures, and of course the foods and all these things, and you come back with such a respect, and I guess I don't know how to explain it, but I always feel like every time I go somewhere new and I come back, I bring that into the music I make. And I always feel like I guess inspired is one word to use. I just always feel like that is at the forefront. So, I don't know. I guess with the writing styles, I really did mess with a whole lot. There's one example I've used, and I've told this before. But was it Billy Idol? I think it was. No, yeah, I think it was Billy Idol. Did this experiment with putting concepts and themes into a hat, and then you pulling out an idea, and then kind of writing a song on that. So
Yeah.
I took old lyrics of mine, and I put concepts and things that and I just juxtapose and I mix things. And so I have a very unorthodox way of writing, but at the same time, it keeps me on my toes and always trying to invent and try new things. So um, I don't know what I'll do on the next body of work. I'm sure it will be completely different, but at the same time, you learn a little bit as you go each time. You find things that work, and if you ever get stuck, those are the type of things that I'll do. Is I'll throw myself. It's like, an athlete throwing themselves and pushing their body, in different ways. And I think that that's how I have to do with mind games, mind work, and putting words together. And I enjoy it. I really do. I didn't realize how much I would enjoy songwriting until really my mid to late 20s. I knew I was good at it early on, but I didn't tap into it like I'm tapping into it now. So, yeah.
Yeah, because this isn't your first rodeo in terms of songwriting, and you've done a couple great songs in the past. Do you feel that with those songs in the past doing so well that this might still stay in the shadows, I guess to say, or do you feel that
No,
this
actually,
will?
I think that it's opposite, because I find when an artist, there's nothing wrong with getting in a room and writing with three or four other writers, because at the same, you're all collectively trying to solve the same end goal. But at the same time, when it's coming truly straight from the artist, let's say there's no other voices, or hey, try this, or what about this line, or that's been used, but what about this? And none of those, if you kind of can shed all those voices, and you're just writing as an artist from the heart and from your own mind, as hard work as it can be, it's also a little bit, it's more rewarding to get to the end place when you finally have dug that deep,
Yeah.
because I don't think I would go as deep as I did if I wrote with other people. Maybe I'd be too shy to talk about a certain topic, or maybe I may not want to go to a certain place with somebody that I don't know that well. So for me to dig deep in myself, I was like, there's no other place to go but internally as far as I can go. So I'm not also putting down any of the past body of work I've done, because I'm proud of a lot of the stuff that I've been able to accomplish, and a lot of the major songwriters I've been able to work with. And all of it's been lesson learned and things that I can put in my tool belt. But at the end of the day, I think for me, doing this album solely on myself was an eye-opening experience that really showed that I can do it. And all I have to do is believe in myself and put the time in. And, I feel like I could write about anything now. I feel like I could really go in, and that's the fun part, is always like testing the ability. So,
And you definitely tested to a point that even Elton John gave support into it. How did that feel? Like getting that notification that Elton John liked your work?
it's definitely it's humbling. It's surreal. It definitely, I mean, I've grown up listening to Elton. I mean, I would say he was one of my early inspirations in terms of just loving music, not even knowing I'd be so much an artist or a songwriter, but just loving music, and what he brought to our generation of music. And so I guess, yeah, hearing him say any you know merit of kind of like, the approval from someone from his caliber, I can't describe. It definitely makes you feel like you're on the right path. And I think for
Yeah.
me that was kind of like, all right, I'm doing something right. If I'm gaining, the ears and trust of someone like Sir Elton John, I feel like, okay, well, all right, I just got to stick to this and keep going.
Man, now just to be able to hear him say like that you like that he likes your work, is just makes you feel excited. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited that you got that kind of a compliment from him. From the people I've
I,
chatted with who've gotten something a compliment from Elton, it's just they get so excited. So to hear
oh
you,
yeah. But you know what, I will say one thing that I've loved about Elton, and where he's, and I, it's publicly known how much Elton gives back, but I will just truly say I love what he's doing for younger artists. So it's such as myself, but for so many other people that are trying to gain their voice. And it's a very, it's there's so much content out there, so many new artists, so many new songs. It's almost hard to find, good talent these days. But I love that Elton is going out of his way to,
yeah,
put them on his show and talk to them about their process, and really, like, he really wants to learn and know. Actually, one of the shocking things I do remember, this is how Elton keeps on to his tabs. Is I remember we went to some private, you know, dinner thing, and this was way before I did Windows at the time, and I think it was one of the dance songs that I had, and he just he told me that it was charting at a certain number, and I was like, how do you even? I didn't even know that. And he
yeah,
was like, but he has this weird, so he has this little book that, and I hope I'm not sharing anything too personal, that I think he would be okay with me sharing this, is that there's a book that he writes names in, of people that he meets. And so he will literally, like, if he hasn't seen you in 10 years, he'll go up to that person, and he'll remember that person's name. And it's crazy, his memory for these type of things. So he's just, I don't know, he's on another level. That's what, he's doing so much already for his own career, and he's trying to, I think, settle down now, this being his last tour, and being with his, he wants to be more time with his kids and all that. So I feel like it's, the fact that he puts any time aside for artists like myself on, trying to scratch the surface, He really it goes above and beyond. So it's kind of amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. And the fact
Yeah.
that he has your name in that notebook and being able to go like, oh, for this upcoming show that you have, um, trailer not posting up yet.
Hmm.
Um, Curious in terms of how you decide to turn your songs into a XR experience to have that visual story like we were mentioning earlier, it's very storybook telling, very novelistic feel to it.
Hmm.
How did that idea kind of come to play?
Sure. I know exactly when it happened. I I have been directing the last number of my music videos. Actually, now thanks to Chris Brown, that was one of the best pieces of advice he ever gave me. It was on the shoot of our video memory, and he's like, Ash, you should direct your own videos. And I never really thought about it, and I was like, yeah, why not? And as soon as I put the directing cap on, it's kind of opened up a whole new world for me. It's the same with songwriting and like I said, doing your own voicing with visuals. It can be the same thing. So I had gotten to a point where music videos are a great way to storytell, but there is sometimes limitations with what you can do with your traditional way of shooting a music video. And right,
Yeah,
it's almost like chord progressions. There's only so many chords. There's only so many things that you can do, but there's ways to
there's
reinvent,
a
but
limit.
yeah, it becomes challenging, unless you have, crazy budgets or whatever, you have to really kind of figure out, okay, well, how do I do this? And for me, I'm really into surrealism art. And so I like when things kind of juxtapose and like they're maybe not meant to be there. So this new thing, XR, which you mentioned, is extended reality. It's kind of a very
That's what it
cutting
means. Oh
edge.
my gosh. I'm
Yeah,
so sorry. I
but
had no clue what the XR stood for.
okay. Well, yeah, I want to educate people. Honestly, I really do. And I would love this to be like a way that I could tell people about it because I find it fascinating. Extended reality is basically a new form of technology. So, for instance, do you know the Disney's Mandalorian,
Yes,
right?
I'm familiar.
That
Yeah.
was shot on a giant stage with like a circular thing. So a lot of what you think is real and they shot on location was actually in a studio using this technology. I think Halsey had done it on like Elton. No, sorry, Elton. Halsey had done on Ellen DeGeneres. She had used a little bit of this. Katy Perry had done something on American Idol where she was like going through frames and all these things. And those are the first two mainstream artists that I had seen use this technology at the time. It did kind of like I my brain was just like, what is this? I want to know more about this. And then as I started digging deeper, there was some other artists that I felt executed it on the type of level that I could see myself doing it. Now, not to go too far back, but my last album, I did a short film where it was kind of a 20-25 minute short film where I shot all these scenes and I combined different songs from my album in like a cohesive storyline. I went from like a Western world to, the sand dunes, and I was teleporting all these places. And that's kind of how I work. That's my mind. I like that kind of stuff. So this one was a little different. I have a new album. I didn't want to do a single for Wanderlust, another visual for Rose Amidst the Thorn, da 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 da. I was like, how can I take this technology, come up with a new storyline that's completely unique and different, and use this technology that my eyes are just like blown away by? And so that process started. I didn't know what I was doing. I'd never done anything like it in the past. I had to really learn from the ground up, what do I even need to do to start this process? So, what I had to do was I had to find basically a bunch of these top-notch graphic designers that they work in it's crazy, but it's called Unreal Engine. And Unreal
Okay.
Engine is a software that's basically what a lot of video games are used. And it's basically, you're an avatar in these virtual worlds, right? That's what video games are. You're
Yeah.
controlling an avatar in a virtual world. So really, that's what I had to make. I was like, really? So I had to make a universe, my own universe. I could start from scratch. I have a clean palette. I can do whatever I want. And I have to create worlds that I want to live in. or my, if I'm playing third person, my avatar. But really it's me. I'm the performer, I'm the singer. These are my songs. How can I weave a storyline with these songs together, and also create some magical kind of art behind me? And so that's when the start process started. So I started with storyboards. I started with all these things that I loved, and we were honing it for months and months. And I was actually in Europe. I was getting my feet kind of grounded in London, and I thought I was going to be on the West End and doing all these other things. And then, long story short, my wife, she's casted in the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. She's been turning it down for the last 10 years and decided, oh, let this be the year that we decide to do it. So that's what brought me back to LA to do the show with her. And I was like, well, I just finished all like the nitty gritty work, and I have now my visuals. I have 4 beautiful, like amazing looking videos, but I need a studio to work with me that has this technology. And so I'm like in LA, I'm looking at all these companies. I really did want to do it in Europe, but I found a really top-notch company. They actually produced Billie Eilish's Where Do We Go Now, her
Oh, okay.
XR. And they also produced Kid Cudi's for Amazon Prime, his virtual concert. So they had worked with some top tier artists, and I was like, oh, these are the match for me. And so I sent them the material. They loved it. And sorry if I'm going on a little bit too long,
Oh
but
no, no, you're good. This is like
I
information that
yeah,
artists like
I think
myself
it's
would love.
interesting for artists to know this, and to
Yeah.
know like kind of what it takes to make something like this. So yeah, I found them, and so crazy, like I don't know. This is when you like kind of like, for me, one of the most surreal moments was one of the major studios that we ended up booking for this. Was actually one of the studios I used to audition as an actor back in the day. And lo and behold, I had it booked out for like 3 days as the director, and I have this like major movie studio with like 50 technicians that I had to basically tell what to do, with, of course, people under me that was helping the process go along. But it was kind of like, wow, this is a really cool moment to be producing and directing this really big production. And I think Disney was booked the day after me, and so it was kind of like I was like I couldn't like I was kind of like really shaking, like I can't believe like I'm here doing this. But really, they were an amazing, top-notch studio. XR Live is what they're called in LA. You can check them out. XR Studios Live, and and live being the key word. I wanted this to be a live production. I did not want this to be a pre-recorded like most music videos are. Everybody in a music
Yeah.
video is lip syncing to their song. And I was like, no, 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 no. The whole reason I wanted to do this, of course, how can I take it hard, like, one step further with all the other pressures I had? I wanted it to be 100% live. I didn't even know how it all was going to play out, but it somehow magically all came together, and it's a beautiful production. It's about 22 minutes long, and I weave together Wanderlust, uh, Why Do You Love Me, A Rose Amidst the Thorns, and Story of a Bird. And that's like kind of like my show. And I put it together, and I am so proud of it. I cannot wait to show it to the world. It's definitely showcases where I want to go as an artist, what I'm capable of doing creatively, visually, and also showcase that I'm a real singer and that I can sing my own stuff. So when I show you the behind the scenes, which everyone will eventually see, you'll see, oh wow, he's in there, he's got his mic, and I won't give away too much, but it's really, I think it's going to be something really a lot of people talk about, only in the sense that I don't feel like it's really been done yet.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm on the cusp of something so new. And I really feel like hopefully not only mainstream artists will look at it and say, I want to do that, but also up and coming independent artists can say, look, this is a way that I can tell my story. This is a way that I can share, you know, something unique with the world and different, and using, again, technology is only going to be speeding up through the years. And so we might as well catch on to it and implement it into our storytelling and our art. So really that's kind of in a nutshell the process, but it was an amazing, honestly, one of the best experiences I've ever had as an independent artist doing my own like, it just was really just, I can't speak highly enough of it. So I can't wait to share it.
From what I saw in terms of the trailer, honestly, it was so beautiful to see the level of creativity in there, especially with even just the trailer alone, just that bit alone
Mhm.
of information. I'm so excited to see the whole thing. I am curious to know in terms of with being on a reality show and then on top of it, trying to write music, what was the kind of the difficulties of doing two things, supporting your wife and then trying to support your career?
Mm. Yeah, it is a balance, right? Like when you start a family and you have your personal life, but then you also have a public, no, I wouldn't even say a persona, but a public part of it. Yeah, it does become a little bit of a juggle. And also it's time management. For me, I'm learning how to allot time to certain things, but also not take away from family time as well, which I feel like it balances me out as a person and makes me a better person at the end of the day, having that. So, rich home life that's important to me, and being there for my daughter and all that. And so I guess it's fun because I like taking on the challenge. I do. I think I'm the type that I'm like, I feel like I can have it all. I can have a family. I can have a career. I don't want to give up one for the other, but it does require time management, and not being too scattered and not putting too much into one basket or taking away from anything. So it's always every day is a muscle of reprogramming that and making sure that I'm giving enough of my energy and time to everything that I want, and
Mhm.
so
That's good to
yeah.
know because that was like one of the big things. I may not be familiar with the show, but I have friends and family who are, and to know that cameras are on constantly,
Mhm.
to have try to figure out having a moment to yourself is something I've always been curious about with reality shows. So I'm glad to hear that you do have separate yourself from it.
Yeah, yeah, and I do. I think you're right. Even especially, touching on reality stuff. It's my first time really doing reality. I've done acting and other things, but actually just letting cameras into my personal space and home and follow us around doing mundane things. Sometimes it kind of does. There's like a little bit of a switch that's like, oh yeah, there's cameras there. All right, well let me just carry on doing what I'm doing. But at the same time, I haven't really the only challenge I would say is that, everything that you do or say can be scrutinized by the public. So you're kind of always like a little bit on, like, just being careful that, like, you don't, you just have to be careful of but at the same time, we know what we got ourselves into and we
Yeah.
know that we've opened that up. So you just have to kind of be aware of what's going on. And but again, I think it's kind of nice. Yeah, I'm enjoying that it's giving us a little bit of a platform right now. And I am definitely seeing, new fans come in and new people discover my music, and that's really at the end of the day what I'm doing, and making sure that I can get my voice out there and get my message across and reach a new audience. So,
So you definitely made me an audience member, audience turned fan here.
oh,
Um,
that's very sweet.
has a stranger ever changed your life?
Has a stranger ever changed my life? That's a good question. Like someone I know, or like meaning a stranger that becomes a friend, or somebody that I just walked into my life for a minute and I never saw that person again, but somehow that changed my life.
Ooh, all three are great options. Do you have an answer for two out of the three?
Well, no, to me it's okay. I like going with the idea that somebody that hasn't necessarily played a big role in my life, but came in as like a messenger,
Ooh, okay.
right? Is that kind of what you're
Yeah.
asking?
Yeah. Yeah.
I like that one, but again, let me just jog my memory of anybody that's kind of come in. And again, what was the question so I can kind of point it
So the
all
question
together?
is, has a stranger ever changed your life?
This is good. It's forcing me to
It's
really dig. I don't know why, and not to go there, but I kind of I don't know why that's the only really one that's like coming to my mind, but my wife was, I don't know if she has this kind of crazy past where she's, she escaped the war, the Bosnian, genocide that happened about 20 years ago, and she's very politically involved and does a lot for her country and gives back. And I forget where she was in what part of the world, but she was kind of this general who had done amazing work and had done good for the people was trapped basically, and couldn't get back to the country. And Diana, and this is all public knowledge, she kind of went out of her way to basically bring him back home. And in doing so, she kind of, there was the opposing side that didn't want this to happen. And so there was a lot of eyes on her and what she was doing, almost kind of like a scene out of a movie. And I remember she said to me that there was somebody in the elevator who was dressed as like a homeless man and came up to her and just said that, there's the light is always on the other side. And she never saw this person again. And it was basically to me, that's kind of like, he could have been an angel. He could have been somebody actually, just telling her, hey, things are going to be okay. But I don't know why that story always stuck with me, about how, in life there can be messengers, just to literally tell us, again, going back to in the moment, that, you know, it's okay. If you follow what you're doing, if you follow on the right path and do what you got to do, it's like I do believe that messengers come in and out of our lives. And I'll come back to you if I feel like something personally that I feel like is worth sharing, because that's a good one. It's a really good question. It just takes, I
Yeah,
guess, on the spot. That's the first thing that came to my mind.
but still, that's still like a crazy story, and it's the
Yeah.
fact that she's gone through all that and still is here alive with you
Hmm.
in this beautiful home that you guys are currently at. I think I want to do a later one. So if you were to press shuffle on your music library right now, what would be the first song that would pop on?
Mm, probably. Oh man, probably either a song by the Eagles, or maybe Donny Hathaway or Otis Redding, probably even Queen. I like the old school rocker bands, and so I think probably some of that would pop up.
Ooh. The fact that you mentioned Otis, I was like, wow, I haven't heard that name in ages.
I know, I know, I know. He's like that soulful guy that just puts me always in a good mood every time I listen to his voice. Just does something. I don't know why. It just resonates with
Gosh,
me.
that's like me with Michael Bolton. Like, randomly, I'll
Yeah,
have Michael Bolton on my playlist, and I'm just like,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
for
yeah. That's
sure.
it. That's the one. That's the one I'm going with. Yeah.
Here, we'll do one more before we kind of like wrap it all up. What is the most ridiculous thing you convinced someone to believe?
Oh wow, the most ridiculous thing I convinced someone to believe. Um. Oh my gosh, I don't even know if I feel if I want to share this. It is funny. It's just no, I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think. I can think of
Like,
something.
go with your gut.
I know, I know. So, convince somebody to believe.
Yeah,
Oh,
what was the craziest thing that you decided, yeah, I'm a professional clown at the age of 7.
well, I mean, theater does that, right? I mean, you're definitely stepping into a new character. So I do think that acting has helped me, um, kind of step into roles. It is, acting is so much fun. Acting is a way to kind of step into something that is not necessarily you, or doing an accent that you don't talk every day, but you get to just step into that. Um, I don't know. I even for the show, we had a night where we dressed up in the 50s, and I got to do a little pencil stash. And I looked like I had the little pocket square. Uh and yeah, I love being able to. I do like dressing up. I do love dressing up. So anytime there's an event or a party that requires like like a strong theme, um, I love being able to just do that. And that's actually, it's funny too. Like a lot of the productions that I've done, I'm very involved with the costume design as well. So I'll go to costume houses and pick out things and all that, and I dress, the people that are in the production with me and myself. Sometimes have help, but it's really fun to kind of go through these like crazy closets of all these worlds and you know, yeah, like I did this shoot not too long ago in Beverly Hills where I was a general and I put on like this coat with this hat and actually people walking in and out, I looked officially like a general. And they probably were thinking like, who is this military guy? Because I had all like
The
all the
seals.
seals and everything, and I looked head to toe like I was the biz. So I wonder how many people walked by thinking, "Oh wow, wow, who's this Mr. Official Man?" And I was
Was
just doing a
this
photo. It was a photo shoot for a still that I needed. That was just kind of like I actually forget what it was exactly for, but that's just to show how often I'm always jumping into a new character.
I
So
was going to
acting.
ask if it was part of Midnight Masquerade.
Yeah, yes, it was actually. It was Midnight Masquerade. You're right. It was for that. Very good. You know your stuff.
A
I
little research I did. Yay.
know, you did. Yeah, you're right. It was for that. It was for that. Yeah, very good.
Well, now with that being said, we're coming to the end of our little interview. This is the part where I get to be able to say, where can we find you?
hmm Well, yes, you can find me on my website. It's ashermonroe.com. Everything is pretty much backslash Asher Monroe. My Instagram, Asher Monroe, Twitter, Asher Monroe. So every Facebook, all of it is pretty easy to find me. I would say the one I use the most is probably Instagram. And so a lot of my fans that like comment and things like that, I try to reply to. And so that's like a direct way to kind of talk to me. But in terms of just like where you can kind of find a lot of my content, my website's a good display of a lot of the music videos that I've done. And of course, all my songs are up on Spotify and Apple Music and, all the major streaming platforms. So I think it's pretty easy for new people and fans to find me. But yeah, I'm here, I'm there. I try to communicate, like I said, with my fans as much as I can. But yeah, that's pretty much it.